Hello once again, everyone. I'm Leslie Rohde with AskTheLawyers.com, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Lawyers. Today we're talking about what to do if you're involved in a car accident. When it happens, you know you can be flustered, have a lot of things going on at the scene. We have a specialist here to talk with us today, attorney Greg Herrman from Herrman Herrman in Corpus Christi. Thankfully, he's here to give us some advice. Welcome, Greg.
Glad to be here, Leslie.
First of all, we think about insurance companies when we're involved in a car accident. So why is it important to be extra careful when you're immediately speaking with an insurance company?
Well, first of all, let me differentiate. There's your own insurance company who you need to talk to and be pretty candid because you want to get your car repaired, and assuming you have to pay for it, and they're not theoretically trying to screw you. Now, the adverse insurance company, that's their job. These adjusters are trained. They know what they're doing. They're not your friend. They're going to act like they're your friend, but they are not there to go, oh, let me see how much I can help this guy. Let's see how fully compensated we can make him. Their job is to pay you as little as possible. So if they can trip you up, get you in a trap, make it look like you're lying about something, that's what they're going to do. And if they can catch you in a couple things that, that look like lies, then they're going to portray you as a liar. And if your case ever goes to court, that's how the defense lawyer is going to try to make you sound like you're just a liar. So you got to be really, really careful when speaking with these folks.
So in terms of how much detail to give them, I guess you'd say very little.
Yeah, very, very little. You got to give them enough so they understand what happened. But the more detail you get into, if you get something wrong, the slightest detail, again, their job is not to be your friend. Their job's not to help you. Their job is to pay you as little as possible. So if you get some details wrong that are contradicted by their insured or by the police or ambulance driver or anybody else, they are going to portray you as a liar, not, oh, he made a mistake. He was traumatized at the time, so he couldn't, he had a little bit different opinion. No, they're going to claim you're a liar, and that's what they do. So, yeah, do not get into a whole bunch of detail. Just, you listen to the question and you answer the question and keep your answers short.
I know it happens often, but when an insurance adjuster is speaking with someone, especially if it's very recently after something like this has happened, they may ask you to speculate on the cause. What happened? What do you think caused this? How should we handle those types of questions?
Yeah, if it's something like that and it's the other guy's fault, I'd just say, oh, I know what happened. It's the other guy's fault. The other guy ran a red light. But as a general rule, you don't want to speculate, because then you're kind of getting into what we just talked about a little while ago about, giving some details that aren't 100% correct. They will try to get you to speculate about your own speed, to speculate about the other guy's speed, to speculate about what time of day or when I guess maybe time of day is not one, but when he put the brakes on. There's just a whole bunch of things that is kind of like the last one about, don't get into too much details, because if you get something wrong, they're going to portray you as a liar. So if they get you to say, the other guy was going, 50, 60 miles an hour, but they got 3 witnesses that'll say, there's no way this guy was going more than 30. Again, they're going to make it look like you're exaggerating. They're going to make it look like you're lying. They will portray you in the worst, you're just in this for money. You're going to say whatever you need to say to get money. That's just the way they operate. Just like a defense lawyer, when you go to trial, that's what defense lawyers do. Is ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're here for money. This guy over here wants money. That's why we're here. And so they're going to make you just look like you're greedy. You're making stuff up. You're exaggerating things because you want money. And don't ever forget that. So if they ask you to speculate on stuff, just don't do it.
So how much should I tell them about my injury? Say I'm hurt, obviously, in the accident.
Yeah. Now on that's a little bit different. On that, I say tell them everything, because even if you've got a slight little, bump or bruise or whatever, and you don't mention it, if later on you decide, oh, you know what, that's kind of a bigger deal than I thought it was. I'm hurting more than I thought I was in that area. If you bring it up later and you didn't bring it up when they first asked you, they're going to say the same thing. Here's a guy now he's making up injuries. He didn't tell us his left foot hurt right after the accident. Suddenly we take his depo 6 months later and he's telling us his left foot hurt and he's trying to blame it on the accident. And so they're going to say that any of these quote unquote new injuries that you've come up with, it's just that you've just come up with them, or you went out and you got injured somewhere else, maybe on the job, and now you're trying to blame it on this injury. And so look at this guy, he had 3 things bothering him right after the accident. 6 months later, he's got 8 things bothering him. So here he is again. He's just lying for money. He's just a liar. He's just a scoundrel. He's just again, put any bad adjective in there that you want, and that's what they're going to claim you're trying to do. So we tell people, if you're going to start talking about injuries, tell them every little thing. And then you can even throw in stuff like, I'm not sure of all my injuries. I'm still having some, different things are still kind of popping up. But make it real clear you're trying to do the best you can and really do everything. Get it out there. If you think it's related or not, get it out there. And then, hedge your bets a little bit by saying, hey, I've noticed like immediately after the accident, I didn't feel this, but then it came the next day or something came 2 days later. And the juries will understand that. And we'll usually have some testimony from a doctor that says, when you are in a traumatic situation like this, your adrenaline starts rushing and pumping, and you don't necessarily feel like you're injured at all right after the accident. And it may take a day or two, sometimes even a week, sometimes as long as 2 weeks later for accidents to fully develop. And, the analogy I give is like, have you ever not played sports in a long time and then you go out and you go play soccer or something or football or baseball or softball and you use a bunch of muscles you've never used? You may feel great right after the event, but the next morning you can't hardly get out of bed. And then sometimes a day or two later, you're even in worse shape because you've just used a whole bunch of muscles that you don't normally use. So.
Yeah. I hear that's very common after car accident, so I can see why a jury would understand that for sure. What about settlement offers? A lot of times after these happen, the insurance company may come to you with a settlement offer. Should you take it?
Pretty much no, because they're never going to really offer you what the case was worth. Now, obviously, if they offer you policy limits and they can prove to you this is all the insurance there is, then you might take that one. But even then, you got to be careful because, let's say it is a very, very serious injury, and they come out and go, here's policy limits. And you go, okay, great. And, here's proof. Here's an affidavit from my client. This is all the insurance there is. We want you to release us and, release anybody else that could possibly be involved. Well, what if you have like a products liability case? What if your car had defective seat belts? What if your car was uncrash worthy? What if there's another defendant out there? If you're not careful, you may accidentally release other people you didn't mean to. You may also, let's say in a products case, let's say the product was made in Detroit or something. You may have released your Texas defendant now. And so guess what? If you have to end up suing General Motors later, you're going to be yanked up to federal court. You're not going to be able to stay in state court anymore. And federal courts are a lot more friendly to defendants than state courts are. And that's why defendants always try to remove you from the state court proceedings to a federal court. And it's called diversity of jurisdiction. As long as you have at least one Texas defendant still in there, they can't remove you to federal court based on diversity of jurisdiction. But the truth is they're almost never going to offer you policy limits. Oh, and one other thing, that may be their policy limits, but what if the person that injured you has an excess policy or an umbrella policy? So if you release that person on the smaller policy, you've released all the excess insurance too, or umbrella, or other layers of coverage. So if you got serious injuries, you don't want to sign anything until you've made sure there's no more insurance out there in any way.
Don't rush.
And one other thing too, if you have uninsured motorist coverage or underinsured motorist coverage and you want to make a claim on them, you've got to get their permission to accept the money from the adverse. And if you don't, you're going to screw up your UM claim. So even then, you don't want to take it until you go get permission from your UM carrier.
Lots of reasons why not to rush into any settlement offer. Also, very understandably, why it would be helpful to have a lawyer like yourself involved in something like this. I know you've dealt with these cases often. Tell us how exactly you would, or your firm there would, help someone who is involved in an injury accident like this.
Well, kind of all above. I mean, the first thing we'd say is don't talk to any insurance companies. Make them talk through us, and we're not going to let you give a statement to them until you're ready and you've had a chance to examine, other witness statements and go out and examine the scene, and we've gone through the whole accident with you, and we've had a chance to, what we call woodshedding you. In other words, making sure you don't speculate and you don't, go through some of these other problems we just went through. But and you're ready to give a deposition. It's not, the adjuster, caught me at home, I'm getting ready to eat dinner, and the adjuster said, this will just take a minute. Next thing I know, I'm starving and I want to eat. So just to get her off the phone, I made some stuff up. We'll make sure that won't happen. We'll also make sure you get all the medical treatment you need, because a lot of times the reason people don't go to doctors and don't get treatment is they don't have the money. And so we'll make sure you get all the treatment you need long before you talk to the adjuster and give any kind of statement. And then we'll just guide you through the whole process, including some of the stuff we just talked about, say, different coverages. Our job is to get you the most amount of money we can get for you. But if there's other policies out there or other defendants out there or other money we can get, for you, we'll make sure it's done right. And you get all the money that you're entitled to get.
You have all the experience then to help someone look far beyond what they could even imagine in these cases. I really appreciate it, Greg. As always, Greg Herrman with Herrman Herrman in Corpus Christi. Thanks so much for talking with us.
Well, thank you, Leslie.
Thank you all for watching this episode of Ask the Lawyers. I'm Leslie Rohde with AskTheLawyers.com, where you can choose a lawyer that lawyers choose.